What is up, guys? Johnny B here again today, and we're going to be bringing you another video on the IS300. I know you guys have been waiting for another video on this car and a little update. In this video, the plan is to separate or unmarry the 2JZ from the automatic transmission. We know a lot of you guys think it's gross, a lot of you guys hate the transmission, and you know, for a car like this, we need it to be a manual because all those automatic transmissions that came in the 2JZs were garbage. So we're going to be replacing it with a Built R154. It's gonna be a 5-speed, and we also got an LSD diff for it that we're gonna probably put in a different video, but that's gonna give us the perfect gearing for this car, for this setup. And the goal is to put the new clutch on, you know, obviously replace the rear main seal while we're in there, put the transmission on. We got a brand new bell housing that's gonna go onto the R154, so it mates perfectly to the 2JZ. And you know, pretty much get our drivetrain all put together, so that way we can mock it up into the car. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get to that in this video. If we do, you guys will see it towards the end. So let's get started. So we got all the bolts off, and now what's left to do is to actually remove the transmission. So let's see how much we have to struggle with that. I got this big pry bar. I guess I'm just gonna send it here. I know this pipe is not the strongest, but we're gonna delete that pipe anyways. What? Wow. I've never seen a transmission just come off this easy. Is this really gonna be this easy? Are you kidding me? It's just like sliding off. I'm about to pull this off with my hand. Yep, pretty sure it's fully off. Looks like, oh, that's what's happening. One of the lines is getting stuck. How about now? Look at that. Transmission is off. Now we gotta take off everything else. The automatic flywheel. Let's do that. So I went ahead and removed all of the torque converter bolts, and now we can just pull it off, or at least it should pull off. Oh, there we go. So these are full of transmission fluid, so you want to make sure you don't spill that. And here we have a view of the automatic flywheel, which is going to need to be removed. There is some kind of dirtiness here. We don't know what it could be from, so let's remove it to see if it's the seal. And if it's the seal, we're gonna need to replace it. But let's be real, we were gonna replace it anyway, so not that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and take off the rear main seal and this whole like little aluminum bit, so that way we can reseal it, because it's clearly leaking through here and we don't want to have issues with leaks. And on the other side, there's like a little pry spot. Ooh, it's coming out nice and smooth. Just keep going back and forth. Make sure we don't break anything. And there we are. So we got the old rear main seal off. That's fairly easy to remove. And then we have a brand new one with the OEM part number for the Japanese GTE. I'm not sure if they're different or not, but we made sure that we got the specific one for this engine, and we ordered it from Drift Motion, so they were able to ship it out over here to us, and you know, get it here quickly. Seems to be exactly the same, so that's amazing. And we got the rear main seal perfectly flush in here, no issues, no damages. Obviously, when you reuse the old one to smack it in, and protects it because of the little rubber that they have. So it's just supposed to sit flush with this part. So now we have to get some RTV and reseal this, and then go ahead and put it back on there and bolt it back on. And then we will be done with the rear main seal. So let's get that on. Get this on here. There you go. It's a lot harder than I thought. But we got it on. I don't want to have to use the bolts to tighten it down. Just kind of wanted it to just like pop in. All right, so we went ahead and put in the new rear main seal, and we put in the new pilot bearing, which it didn't really have one because it was an automatic, so now it's got a brand new pilot bearing. All OEM parts, by the way, so like if you want to go high power and reliability, OEM parts. The only thing we didn't really go OEM with was the flywheel. The flywheel is from Drift Motion. Look how gorgeous it is. It looks like a, I don't know, it just looks like a jewel or something. It's amazing. So this is gonna be what's gonna be helping us mount the 800 horsepower clutch. So let's go ahead and just slip it on. Oh my God, it doesn't fit.
So the salami lid won't fit the salami lid.
Just kidding, we got it on. And then I just gotta twist it to where it lines up with the bolt holes. Perfect. Then we went ahead and also got ARP bolts for this flywheel to be able to hold it. They say ARP right at the top. We wanted nothing but the best. So we want to make sure that these bolts aren't just gonna shear off because of all the torque. So I'm gonna put some Loctite on one of them and just kind of hold it, and then just do the same thing to all of them. Just so I don't have to keep holding the flywheel. And snug them all down first. There you go. So here we have the clutch we're going to be using. This is a South Bend clutch. I don't really remember exactly what type it is, but it's meant to hold around 800 horsepower or like 650 foot-pounds of torque. It's the next day, and after putting on the flywheel, we decided we're gonna try to figure out how we were supposed to put all of the clutch fork and all these extra little pieces that came with what we ordered. So let's try to figure it out together. So here we have a Lego set for an R154. We have the clutch release hub, we have the clutch fork, we have some sort of like support that goes for it, and then also a little spring support and bolts for it. You can see a lot of the parts are all OEM, so these are just getting replaced with OEM parts, and they'll be able to handle the power. This is the release bearing, and then we have all these like shims or whatever they are. So we got to figure out how those are going to go in there, and then we have a brand new slave, and then we also have the bolts, and it's all like nice and neatly packaged. Before we put the pressure plate, I found out that we needed to put the release bearing and kind of like build this kit, put it on the pressure plate, and then we can go ahead and put it on the engine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install this spring. That's the part number for it. Just sits there, and then there's this little shim that goes here. That's the perfect size for that. And then we can go ahead and install the bearing. So after that, to be able to hold that in place, we're gonna be using this C-clip. So we're gonna go ahead and try to put this on. So we got the C-clip in. It was a bit difficult just because there's a lot of tension on the spring. So I kind of pushed it down. I was able to get one of the edges in, and then slowly I was kind of holding it down. I would just grab the needle nose pliers and pull it and push it in. And then towards the end, it almost went in, but just to finish it off, I just hit it with a flathead and it just clipped right in. So it's on, it's working perfectly fine. It's got all the pieces that it needs to. So this part is ready to go. So now this is gonna be the area that's gonna be touching the actual pressure plate. So we're just gonna apply some grease here. Now that we got the bearing greased up, we're gonna go ahead and grab the pressure plate and sit it right on there. So now we have to take these 3 rings here and put them on. So we put this one on here first. We put the spring, and then we're gonna put this clamp on. So let's go ahead and finish putting this one on. There it goes. Push it down. There we go. And it's in. So now it's time to go ahead and put the clutch and the pressure plate onto the 2JZ, but we're having an issue because we forgot to order a clutch alignment tool. So, and that's like a $4 piece. So I'm just gonna be using this extension here to kind of like get it all straightened out. I'm gonna try to get it as straight as possible. Hopefully that's gonna be enough to be able to get the transmission on, because that's all the clutch alignment tool does, is to be able to get this nice and straight in the middle of the pressure plate and the flywheel. So, wow, this thing's heavy. Now I just gotta remember which one's for the Alpine. I think it's this one. There we go. Got it mounted on there. We're gonna be using our ARP bolts with some Loctite on there to be able to make sure that these aren't gonna come off again until we need to change the clutch the next time. So there we are, that's holding on. I'm just gonna go ahead and put all of the bolts, put Loctite on all of them, and then I'm gonna center the clutch. And then once the clutch is centered, I'm gonna go ahead and start systematically tightening down all of the bolts so that everything will be held in place. Using that Mobile One grease. There we go. So now the next thing we have to put is this clutch support, and then there's like a clutch fork support spring that go mounted here, and we got some brand new bolts as well with some Loctite. Make sure this doesn't loosen up. Just gonna test it and finish tightening it down. Now that the transmission is complete and the clutch is complete, we can go ahead and put the transmission and the 2JZ together. All right, so it looks like I got it lined up. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this to line up properly. Oh, that slipped in pretty nice. Oh my gosh, look at that. And this was all with like a ghetto clutch alignment tool, which wasn't even an actual clutch alignment tool, but we got it to line up properly. So now all we have to do is go ahead and bolt the transmission on to the engine to complete the mating process. Go ahead and tighten the transmission now. Bolts look really clean. That's because we put them in the vibration tumbler, and it just cleaned up all the years of gunk that they've had to where they look new. Here's one of the bolts. Look how it came out. It looks like new again. This is the one for the starter, but it just makes everything look new. You know, obviously this bell housing is brand new. You know, having the bolts, the 2JZ is nice and clean. After we're done with this, we want this engine and trans set up with everything to just look like it's new. So with all these new OEM parts, we're achieving that, and we're also getting a lot more reliability with stuff that's new. So it's amazing. So now we can put the clutch fork. You actually put it on after everything is connected. So you guys remember I showed you guys a little section where you kind of clip it in. So now we're just doing that section where you just kind of push it in. You heard that little clip in? Now it won't pop out by itself. And this is what's going to be causing the piece to come out. Right, so the next step is to put in the clutch slave, OEM as well. There's ASIN on there. I'm gonna go ahead and stick it through. Make sure it connects with the clutch fork. Line it up with the bolts. And we're gonna put one bolt in because it's got a little bit of tension on it, just so it doesn't fall off. Okay. Other bolt, some Loctite on it. Tight on. I'm gonna tighten it down. And I'm gonna tighten these by hand. These are brand new OEM bolts as well, funny enough. Since we weren't working with an old car, we were just getting all new parts. We needed to have every single bolt and everything, so we just went ahead and ordered everything OEM. Slave is on. Now we gotta cover up the transmission. So now we're gonna go ahead and cover up this hole with this nice, fancy, brand new Toyota OEM clutch cover. This is gonna slip on right there, and then there's two bolts that need to go on it, which we also got the OEM bolts for, which is it's crazy to imagine. You know, they still sell all this parts for older cars like this, and they have it all in stock. And some of these parts were actually sourced from Japan that we couldn't even get in the States because we don't get some of these parts here. So it's just, I don't know exactly which ones, but I do remember a lot of them We just can't even order from Toyota here. So now that we're done with the transmission, mounting it to the 2JZ, we went ahead and put the drift motion transmission mount, and we put the OEM mounts for the motor or for the engine. And now we're gonna try to put it in the car to get all the mock-up ready. So the engine was already, got everything, you know, cleaned out, got everything removed. It's all nice and clean. And to be able to get the engine in, a lot of people have to angle it and kind of get it over the core support. But in our case, I think we're just gonna go ahead and remove it. And then we should have enough space to put the engine in. I feel like I'm going a little bit crooked. Almost got it in. It's a little bit high, but I wanted to make sure I cleared the sway bar and other materials, so I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. Just enough to where nothing's gonna hit, but we can get it in there pretty nicely. There we go. Trans mount is going underneath some stuff over there. Look at that. This is definitely a glorious view. Just gotta push the motor mount. There we go. Just pushed it into place. And then now I can lower it down on this side. There we are. 2JZ is sitting inside of here. You can see the mount that we got from Drift Motion. It comes with like these nice little blocks here, and a nice energy suspension bushing there that uses this OEM little crossbar for the transmission. It's amazing to see how close you can get and how this transmission just fits in there. I could probably fit my hand in there like barely, not even. It's just really close, really tight, and I think that was probably the best option that we could go with, something that was gonna fit like OEM, like it's like right in there between everything. On this side, we do see a little bit of a bolt that's kind of close right here, so we might need to hammer that in a little bit, kind of like this dent that's right behind there. That's an OEM factory dent, kind of just that way we're not rubbing or making any weird noises later on down the road. And if you continue down here, we have our slave. It's nice and close, nice and compact. You know, everything's just fit in there perfectly. So if we would have gone with any other transmission, I feel like we would have had a little bit of fitment issues and having to modify or like really bash up. Like a lot of people, I've seen a lot of other people, they just bash up and just hammer all this body panel under here, and I didn't really want to do that. It's cool, it's looking good. I think now that we have the mock-up, we know everything fits. We're gonna have to start deciding what we're gonna do for the manifold that's gonna be holding the turbo. I'm so happy to have the 2JZ in the car. It's the best engine. It's gonna sound so good when we're done. It's gonna be. Are you recording?